Do Squier instruments actually suck? Well, I own two of them, and I've played both of these for quite some time now, so let me tell you what I've learned after playing and owning both of these instruments. One of the main complaints you'll hear about Squier instruments is that they're just not very high quality. And while that's partially true, it's also not a completely valid argument. The reason being, Squiers are meant to be affordable instruments, and when you buy an affordable instrument, you buy that, hopefully, understanding that the quality isn't going to be as good as a more expensive instrument. On my Squier jazz bass here, the knobs specifically are not the highest of quality, and they do occasionally fall off, but that is something that I knew going into buying this bass because it's not a $1,000 bass. Although, most of the other stuff on this instrument is actually pretty high quality because this is on the higher end of the Squier lineup. You get a little bit better quality than you would with a cheaper Squier instrument. The overall quality of the whole bass in general, saying like the headstock and the tuners and everything, just how the whole body feels, how everything's put together, it actually all feels really nice and a decent amount nicer than some of the other basses that I've played in this price range. Now this guitar here is a 1990 Squier Stratocaster, and being a 34-year-old guitar, its quality is a little bit better than a lot of the newer Squier guitars that I've played. Of course, it has been played a lot over that amount of time, so everything feels very worn in and just very good to play, so it's gonna feel a little bit nicer than it would if you had just bought it, just because it's been played. A fairly common issue with Squier guitars is that the fret wires sometimes stick out over the edge of the neck, and that's bad for obvious reasons because when you're playing you can just cut up your fingers, but that is not a Squier specific issue. That's something that a lot of guitars in this price range have. Speaking from experience playing many guitars from this kind of price range that are similar to these Squier guitars, a lot of them have that same fret issue, and I honestly think I've played more non-Squier guitars that have that issue with the fret wires sticking out over the neck than I have played Squier guitars that have that issue. Now, Squier guitars are not going to feel as good as a Fender guitar will, but they're a fraction of the price. Obviously, you can't expect a Squier to feel exactly like a Fender will just because it's technically the same brand, because it's the affordable version of Fender. These are still decent guitars that are just a fraction of the price of an actual Fender guitar. Squier guitars and basses also don't sound half bad. At least in my opinion, they sound pretty good, especially when you play them through a nicer amp, such as this Vox tube amp that I recently bought. This guitar sounds absolutely fine. Now, of course, sound quality isn't the only thing that matters when you're looking to buy a new guitar or bass. The feel of the instrument also matters a ton. And you might be wondering if Squiers feel any good at all. Now, my Squier Stratocaster back here, it's an old guitar, it's been played a lot. That feels incredible because it's been played, it's been worn in, and it's older, so the quality was a little bit nicer. But my Squier bass here as well feels just fine. Actually, when I was looking to buy basses, I was trying out a few different kinds from many different brands, and as soon as I sat down with this one, I knew that I was going to buy it because it just felt so good to play, and it still feels so good to play. And if I play it back to back with my old Yamaha bass back here, that is a much cheaper bass, so you'd expect this to play a bit nicer than it anyways, but you can really tell a difference that Squier basses and guitars feel pretty darn good to play. Of course, that's just kind of in general, and also from my experience, I've played a lot of Squier guitars and basses that feel awesome, but of course, I've played a few that don't feel awesome as well, so it just kind of depends on the instrument. If you want to see a full in-depth review of this Squier bass, you can click right up here on the screen for that, and of course, feel free to check out other videos on my channel. I played this bass or that guitar in most of them so far, so I hope to see you over there.